Record to the cloud. So let's go ahead and call the meeting to order at 7:05. I'll take notes. Okay, I sent out earlier today a copy of the previous minutes. If anybody's had the chance to look at those. Great.
They matched my notes, so.
Great, awesome. Any comments or corrections to them, Angela or Yash?
No.
Good.
Okay. Then I move that we accept minutes from our July 25th meeting as is. Any seconds?
Seconded.
Okay, Joe seconds. Okay. Make a note here. Joe. Okay, let's go around the room. Angela?
Yes.
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 Joe?
Yes.
And likewise. Okay. First thing for the agenda tonight is DPW Technologies. My summer got busy and I just barely followed up. I sent a note to our new DPW director asking for some time to sit down with him. So we're very, very eager to do so. We've had lively discussions for many MTC meetings and eager to pull him into the discussion because he's the person who'll be driving it. So in a nutshell, no changes have been made. We haven't done any more research about options since our previous meeting, so I don't think there's much to discuss here tonight.
I did renew my transfer station sticker, and I mean, it's not the worst website I've ever been on in my life, but you know, I think the issue was part of it's automated and part of it's not. And so it becomes a little difficult, especially if you're not familiar with technology, to navigate between the automated portion. Then you have to go into the town portal, and you know, then there's like an exchange of email messages. So I mean, it worked, and it only really took me a few steps, but I think maybe for someone who isn't familiar with technology, it could be very difficult.
Yeah. So I think, and this is where well, we discussed with the DPW director. I think we come armed with what are the challenges? What are the knowns, the known issues with our current system, including the workflow and simplicity and ease, etc. And then there's certain challenges with the existing workflow, but then there's also certain functionality, as we discussed in the past, that is simply not allowed, like the day passes or renewals, or week passes or purchasing passes, paying extra, even if it's a lot extra for things like large items or mattresses or CRTs. I know that DPW does not accept CRTs. We haven't done for years and years and years. But I have to ask myself, at what price point?
Yeah.
If somebody were to pay $10,000, would the DPW? I'm guessing they would. So the question is, it all comes out of price, right?
Right.
And not just, and certainly we want to recoup costs, etc. So allowing flexibility and people to pay for that flexibility, I think certain citizens would be appreciated. Anyway, we've discussed this over and over again. But yeah, thanks for sharing your experience, Angela. Any other comments?
Is he coming to the next meeting, or are we looking to set up a separate time with him?
Yes, a separate okay. time with him, and then we'll certainly invite him to next meeting. And I'd love to sort of include him in the rotation schedule like we've done in the past.
Yeah. Where
we go through different departments. We have a separate conversation to interview, collect the information, and then we bring it back to present at the MTC meeting. So, yeah.
Right.
All right. Make notes on this. Okay. Strategic technology plan and alignment with the master plan. So thanks again, Angela, for sharing the latest plan. And do you want to
Yeah, can I do
summarize?
screen share?
Oh yeah, 1 second.
Tell me when.
Okay.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So I took a stab at rewriting the technology strategy, and hopefully everybody has a copy of that. It's pretty substantially rewritten. So what I tried to highlight are some of the open questions. So where you see red, there was a question about just confirming that we have completed all of these. So we start with the executive summary, and we had talked about upgrading the town Wi-Fi. I know we've done some things, but I wanted to confirm with Jay if there were still things on the list that we had not yet done that we wanted to do. Do you happen to know, Matt, if there are still open items on?
I do not know.
Okay.
I'm from my understanding, I'm guessing I've not heard anything about us successfully upgrading Wi-Fi. I think we budgeted for it. I think even the town, voted to allow for the budget
Right.
for swapping out
It was part of
Wi-Fi.
the ARPA that I believe was approved.
Yeah,
So
I haven't
maybe
heard anything about it being done.
if it didn't get done this year, then I think we need to put it on the list for 2024. And we did get some feedback about creating maybe like a short list of priorities for 2024 and 2025 so that we can help as part of the budget input.
Yeah.
So that one might be one that needs to go to the 2024 list. Same thing
By the
with
way,
event. Oh, go ahead.
Bravo for that feedback. I love that.
Yeah,
Easy,
yeah, that's
simple, actionable things. And now's the time to do it
yep.
while budgets are being made. So
Yes. Thank you, Sam.
yeah, thanks, Sam.
The other one was the event management and registration system. So this came out of a lot of the early interviews that we did with the departments. A number of groups have their own, and there was potentially some synergy in combining them, but I don't think we got very far down the road with people being willing to come off their existing systems, but also, looking at new ones. So that I think is still on the list as a possibility. I think we just need to determine, is there appetite to do that?
Yeah. I'd love to hear what everybody's thoughts are on here, but the more I've realized and more I see it ingrained with different groups having their own calendaring, of own events, the Board of Health, Senior Center has their own event system. The library has their own system that they love and they manage. So I think it's going to be quite difficult to come up with a single system that covers everybody's needs, especially because these other event management systems are ingrained in their respective websites. But what we can and should be doing is at least federating the publication of those events from their respective into a consolidated or unified calendar or set of calendars in a single location so that people can subscribe to one or multiple topics or calendars and in one location. They don't have to go to 5 different departments and get an iCal over there for the library, and iCal over here for CalDAV over here for something else,
I like that idea. Yeah.
I think my hope was that the new website would have some capability for federating calendars it can receive, and I think it does have some capabilities.
Yeah.
It hasn't been explored yet.
Okay.
So yeah, adding that to the list would be good.
Well, I also think one of the recommendations was to create maybe a short list of the top priorities for the new website. So that could be something that, if that's one of the things that we really want to make sure is getting on the agenda for 2024, what are the top 5 to 10 things with the new website that we want to make sure are getting addressed.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, and that won't, after this, in our discussion, the town website upgrade, let us share the simple feedback form that I've come up with, but let's continue here.
Great. And then let's see what else. The accessibility committee. Again, we had taken some specific steps on that, but I wanted to see if there were other specific things that we wanted to list to make sure that we got them in the 2024-2025 budget. I can follow up with Will or somebody on that one just to see if there are any priorities.
Yeah.
And then we had the building permit system. That was the other one that we wanted to list. Going on, let's see. This is all just the link to the master. I wanted to talk with Kelly a little bit more about the customer journeys. We had a customer journey for residents as well as a customer journey for employees. So I wanted to spend some time with Kelly just talking about, I would say, sketching these out a little bit more, making them a little bit more detailed, a little bit more realistic, and then talking with Jay about how they could actually be implemented, because some of this I think we could implement quite easily, and other components we might need to think a little bit about how that gets done. So I think there's 2 action items here just to follow up with Kelly and Jay on both of these. So as a second pass, I can set up some of those conversations and talk with folks about that. And then I don't believe the standards changed a lot from what we had before. I did reword some components, and when we got to the data-driven strategy, that recaps the survey. I did want to ask if we are doing that this year. So is there a plan to do a 2023 survey?
I am interested in doing one this fall. Yes.
Okay.
And
so
yeah. So I'd love to start collecting thoughts for maybe use our previous one as a baseline, but
right.
Definitely, and we could potentially use that to help influence those budget priorities. What are the top items, etc. So
yeah, I was trying to remember, Matt, if in the 2022 one, if we segmented it into residents and employees
no,
and school administrators, which were kind of
the 3 user sets. Yeah, we didn't. We only did this from the perspective of residents.
Of residents. Okay. And, maybe that's something we could chat about a little bit more, which is, should we keep it with just residents? Should we try to go after employees and school administrators? Or, how do we get that data if we don't do it through the survey? Is there a different mechanism of getting that data?
No, we certainly could. And I would love to do so if we feel like we can publicize it well enough. So maybe that's something we should discuss with the school committee.
Yeah.
And for employees, discuss that with the select board.
Okay.
So, yeah.
And then a lot of the old strategy document talked about the first survey that we did, and it talked about the learnings that we had received from the first survey. So a lot of it was directed around, we need a new website, we need more transparency through that website. There was a lot of talk about here are some other towns that have websites that we could learn from. So I removed all of that and then just focused on the fact, hey, we've actually upgraded our website and here's what it is now. and here's, some of the key features that it now includes. So at least it's a more recent snapshot of the work that has been done. I do need to meet with Jay on the current technology. I know he was going to take a look at this and provide me with any updates about things that we needed to do for that section, some recommendations about the staffing. And then I took a stab at updating the 5-year plan, including AI and the technology trends, so that we reflected some of the new components going on around AI, machine learning, and automation. And I tried to simplify the metrics. I was getting a little lost in some of our old metrics, and I thought maybe I could make it a little bit more understandable by just trying to simplify some of it. So I simplified some of the metrics, but I want to make sure that we didn't lose anything in the simplification. So again, I would just ask folks, please take a moment to read through, come back to me with any thoughts, reactions that you have. We're going to kind of keep it open for about another week to 2 weeks, I would say, and collect feedback that the committee has, that any, key stakeholders might have. I'll try to follow up with folks that we've heard from in the past who've provided feedback, and then we'll do another final pass that we can then post on our page on the website and market to different groups so that they have the ability. We can redo the brochure so that we can put those at the library and put those in the town offices and make them available for folks. Any additional feedback right now that folks have about the paper, the strategy document?
Nothing from me, but thank you so much for your work on this. And I would definitely ask, and I have not read the updates. I will though, and ask Joe and Yash, please do read it. And we should be intense.
You didn't have a lot of time. It just came out over the weekend, so I certainly understand that people didn't have a chance to read it yet.
If there's one thing our committee does and has impact, it's through this document in terms of setting the North Star of where we should be going, and then finding the little chunks, increments, bite-sized pieces to help us get towards where we want and need to go as a town. So, yeah.
Like in the document, Angela, you have certain sections where are we going ahead with the proposition for 5-year plan. Do we want to provide certain examples of what kind of scenarios we would like to see? And something like when we say we want to engage with AI in that, then we can something of the side, like we will like an AI assistant on the web page who can answer questions, something of that sort, like an example, like it is something that comes in 1 year or something, but a long-term plan, which
I think the more real we can make it, the better it will be for people, and the more they'll be able to kind of understand what we mean by some of these trends and things. Yeah. So absolutely, I would say if there are specific examples, specific things you think we could list in the 5-year plan, that would be terrific.
Yeah. Go over it. Thanks.
Yeah. So yeah, if you have any specifics, Yash or Joe, yeah, please send them over about those. Here's specific examples that are tangible. I can agree. AI for AI's sake isn't a thing.
Yeah.
But it's how does it improve people's lives?
Yeah, we don't want it to be hand wavy. We want it to be meaningful.
We need more AI because AI.
It's AI. What
the keyword of the decade. AI powered.
We need crypto. And what else do we need?
Oh God.
Quantum. We need quantum. Quantum computing.
That's 10 more years, man. 10 more years.
10 more years. Yeah. All right. Great. Yes. So yeah, thank you so much, Angela, for
Sure.
this wonderful work. That is awesome. All right. Any other comments before we move on to the next topic? Anyone on this? All right. Let's move on to 10 website upgrade. There continue to be 2 steps forward, 1 step back. Wonderful news that we're now using the southboroughma.gov domain. But as everyone seen, there's been noted that this broke a few things. One, some old links, and the way it does redirects from our old domain, it's redirecting through a non-TLS connection, which is insecure. So anyway, these things, will be worked on. Jay's aware of them. But related to that, just wanted to briefly get everybody's thoughts. I haven't shared it with the committee yet, but just sort of a form for citizens to submit issues that they have found with the website. And then as a committee, we can help triage the issues. And ultimately, open question about whether we'll leave this in Microsoft Office forms and have it go to an Excel file for us to triage, or move it to Google Forms. Either way, the content would be the same and the workflow would be the same. But just want to walk people through, see if I'm missing any fields that we would want to collect on issue. Somebody's name and email address so we can contact them with any questions, optional phone number. What is the type of issue that they're seeing? Either outdated of information, technical, broken link, spelling or grammar, accessibility problem, difficult to navigate, lack of security or HTTPS, or search functionality, or something else. Detailed description of the issue, location, URL of the issue, what browser and operating system they're using, what are the steps to reproduce the issue is optional. And then how they rate the severity of the issue. And then on what date did they most recently experience this issue? I know this is net new, but is there anything that that I'm missing here from this question list?
Would they be able to link to this off the website? Is that the idea, that there would be like a provide us with feedback or issue reporting? Okay.
Issue reporting, on the website itself,
Just a small thing, the question number 7, what is your browser and operating system? Can we just make it like an option? Like,
sure,
some people won't know that.
What's an operating system?
Yeah.
That would be helpful to know, but we might have to collect that more manually.
Yeah.
That's very thorough. I can't think of anything else.
Yeah, the only other thing would be if we see a lot of others in a certain category, just to expand it, but you hit the main topics that I would collect on a feedback survey.
Okay. Or I'll take this back to Jay and discuss with him, possibly, turn this into the Google form. I'll ultimately turn it into a Google form, and then we can then work with him. And I've told him this is something we as a committee can help with, is help triage the issues as they come in and prioritize defects as they come in.
Did you ask about what type of device they're accessing it from? Do we need to ask if they're accessing from a, desktop, laptop, smartphone, iPad? Again, I would make that optional because people might not know, but if they can tell us, that would be.
And probably want to add this actually as a multi-select, right?
It's a good idea, yeah.
Does Microsoft Form does not have the ability
add
to
option underneath that.
It's the add other option.
Multiple answers if you can.
Yeah.
Oh, all right,
Yeah.
there we go. Yeah, there we go. Okay. Thanks. I'm fairly new to Microsoft Forms.
Laptop/desktop, smartphone, tablet.
I think the 7 number should also become a multi-choice scenario. Like
Oh,
Chrome,
yeah,
Chrome,
that's a good idea.
other browser,
Yeah.
an operating system, Mac OS, Windows.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's it.
And probably be multiple.
Yeah, hit that toggle again. Yeah.
Okay. So so there probably should be separate questions, operating system versus browser. Do we care about the operating system versus the browser?
We get about the browser. I don't feel the operating system.
Yeah, especially since you added the device type that will frequently imply.
Ooh, look at this. What's up, Edge?
Edge.
I love AI in Forms.
Oh,
Look at this.
very nice.
Look at that.
That's
Microsoft is reading my
awesome.
mind. All right. And then add other option. Good. And same thing down here. Okay. Great. Any other feedback before we move on? All right. Let's move on the agenda. Workflow optimization. So one of the key feedback we received for the new website from the town clerk's office is it takes them a significant amount of time to post meetings, twice the amount of time that it took them previously to post meetings. Thanks, Yash, for joining us, and safe trip. So this is very concerning because to me it was quite a manual process in the first place. They basically pay attention to their email, and the email comes in, they open the attachments, and the agenda could be in any form, and then they parse it and do sanity check it, and then they go to the website and they do a bunch of clicks, and it's twice the number of clicks or more. So instead of like normal 6 or 7 minutes per meeting, now it's up to 15 minutes in some cases to post just one meeting. So to me, this is like,
that sounds wrong. Yeah.
That sounds wrong. That sounds wrong.
What does Civic Plus say about that? Has Jay had an opportunity to talk to them about it yet?
Yes, he has, and they've sent over a list of their workflow. It still requires quite a few clicks. Our clerk's office has been interviewing or discussing with other clerk's offices who are also using the new version, and supposedly they're seeing similar issues. So I took a step back and said, look, okay, let's sit down and design the optimal workflow, ignoring what Civic Plus can and cannot do. And we got to thinking, meaning clerk's office, Kate, Amy, Jim, myself, that what's the ideal world? Somebody would submit something through official request, say a form, and then the clerk's office could review that information, and through simple toggles, approve, reject, approve meaning post it, or reject it, etc. So it becomes like a decent workflow engine, like everybody does in the business world. And you don't have to copy and paste two things to and from email, especially if you're doing something. This is something they do each and every day, day in, day out. So we agree that I'd come up with a draft, and I've shared it with them just early today. And I haven't got their feedback yet. I haven't heard back from them. But let me share my screen with just to show initial what this looks like. It's yet another Microsoft form. The benefit here of using Microsoft over Google is that the town, of course, uses Microsoft Office 365. And by default, it's because it's part of the domain, it restricts the people who can submit forms to members of the domain. In fact, employees as of now, right now, cannot open up forms to be used by general public. And they can't post docs publicly, like Excel doc. They can't share it publicly, which is in general, it's a good security thing. And when somebody fills out a form, it automatically captures who that is. So for example, notice this is it says, "Hi, Matthew, when you submit this form, you'll see your name and email address." I didn't log in here because it was already using my browser session. It would have forced me to log in under my town credentials if I had been coming to this this page for the first time. But let's see here. Let me pull up the form. So is this a new meeting post, or is this amending a previous meeting posting? Board or committee, it's a pull down list. The board of committee that is.
Is that a typo? Is this a new form?
This is a brand new form.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. No, this is a request to amended.
Oh, sorry. Thanks for that. To amend
a previous. Yeah. Okay. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, I haven't. Yeah. I appreciate any feedback, including typos.
Hot off the presses.
What's that, Joe?
I was just hot off the presses, so it's
yes.
Yeah, nobody else has seen this. I don't even know what the clerk's office is. I'm just sharing this with them yet. So let's see here. So yeah, board or committee is a pull down, and date and time of meeting. Well, one of the things you can do in forms, which you cannot do in blank emails, is give people guidance to what they should be and should not be doing. So here, what's the date and time of the meeting? And here's the guidance for open meeting law, right? Before. Also, we can do.
Does it actually allow you to prevent the submission if it's too close within the window?
Right now, it does not. I'm going to be looking into ways. I've noticed that even basic validation things, Microsoft Forms is not nearly as good as Google Forms, but it does have the ability of kicking off workflows after submission here, and that's how I'll have it. Send an email, possibly do some built-in validation, and also post the responses to a Excel sheet that is then works as the master list of requests. So yeah, I'm going to play around with that.
Yeah, the format for date is usually MMDDYYYY for just the number of digits. I don't know if that would force somebody to.
Yeah. This is Forms option for date.
Okay. All right.
So Microsoft, it's not. I mean, I prefer ISO 8601, but this is ISO nothing.
Joe, you know Microsoft quite well, right? They will do what they want to, and you have to live with it. I should strike that from the meeting record, but whatever. Yeah.
Prayer request type. What does that mean?
What is it? Oh, so these are suggestions in Microsoft Forms for additional choice option. Like if I want to add a choice, this is, I don't know if they're using OpenAI because Microsoft owns part of it, of other questions they wanted to add to Good. So just
That's
ignore that.
weird.
So
Oh, okay.
the AI has religion is what we're seeing.
I guess AI has a religion, yes. Okay. Time of the meeting.
Okay.
And
Type
is this a type of meeting, in person, online, or in person and online?
Hybrid.
And one of the nice things about this, as a good engine, is that it does allow for branching. So if it's in person, I go to a separate section. If it's online, online section, or in person, online. These are separate sections which ask different things. So if it's in person only, it asks the location, of the meeting. If it's online, it simply tells them have they scheduled the meeting online. If it's in person online, it gives them the online instructions and asks them the location for the in person. And then the agenda items section gives them a few comments about what agendas look like. And then agendas, instead of being, handwritten or PDFs or Word docs or whatever format, they've been, apparently the clerk's office has been given all sorts of formats. Here it's just it's a text box. It's a long answer, and it's simple. And then the users can upload any optional supplemental materials as part of a meeting packet, and then end the form.
So they want the person not to attach a file as the agenda because people do it very differently. They want it to just be like a bullet list and to type it in there. Okay.
Yeah. And to start off simply, I was envisioning, all of these results would go to an Excel file, and they can just manipulate a field in the Excel file that is, whether it's been approved or time-stamped from the clerk's office. Basically, some level saying the clerk's office are the only ones who can manipulate it, saying they approve it. And then magically, if they approve it, it shows up on a duplicate or a child Excel file showing here are all the meetings with their respective agenda items. It'd be great to eventually have it better integration with the website, so it actually posts the meeting to a calendar or something like that. But to start off simply, we can just simply have a copy of the Excel, Excel that has all of the posted or approved meetings listed on the Southborough's website. And literally it takes the clerk's time and effort down from a 15-minute process to more of a 1-2 minute process. Say check it and change one field and it's done. So
great.
So yeah, this, if anybody has any comments or thoughts, this is just initial. Start small, try it out, see how it goes, and improve over time. All right. Let's go on to the next agenda item, which is network architecture documentation review, secondary ISP. Joe, do you want to cover that?
Yeah, on the first point, both Jay and I had vacation damage, so August was a wash. We've got a couple sessions lined up in September with the goal of trying to get something together for an exec session sooner than later. For the secondary ISP, Jay made a lot of progress there, and we discussed it. There's the ability within the budgeted quantity. There's the ability to get the requisite number of v4 static addresses for full failover and gig service without having at the desired location has already been vetted. So
gig failover service?
No, business gigabit service,
yep.
And enough addresses to cover the standard usage that we have.
How many addresses do we have, and like why do we need? I guess my general thought is the more cloud we are, the less static IPs we need.
I would agree, but I there are definitely some issues with public safety where we want to have some localized services, and it's basically it's a /29.
Okay, all right, pretty small.
Yeah, still small, but the point is that it was the facilities to be able to do the existing course of business on secondary ISP is available. And he was looking, I didn't get the confirmation as to whether or not the trigger was pulled, but he was looking to actually make this happen for September. And what was the other useful points? From a budgeting perspective, came in under the budget that was already allocated. And there is no annual discount. It's always month to month. There were 2 other tiers of service that were available, but the pricing was not out of whack.
And just confirm, this is a secondary ISP that would be gigabit as a secondary ISP?
Yeah.
What is our primary ISP right now? Is it gigabit?
I believe it's fractional, but burst. I'd have to double check what I have in the notes.
Okay. Well, that sounds fantastic.
Yeah, it's there's NRC is $100. It's 99 just for the install, no matter what the tier. It's 165 a month.
Really?
Month-to-month service. And we did poke around. There were no like municipal discounts that we could get. We try to have a few pull out a few threads. If there was any concern about cost, but he confirmed that it was under the budget. If there was any concern about cost, we also found out that we could go for a lower tier. There is no dashboard to automatically dial it up, but it's a contact support to dial it up. Still seems like if we're in a fail situation, that would be bad.
Yeah. Let's not. Yeah, for 165 a month, that's reasonable for Gigi or municipal.
Business gig over the hybrid fiber coax network.
Yeah. Well, that's fantastic. Thank you. Thanks for your work there, and thanks to Jay, who's not here. That's great.
He did the work. I just asked him annoying questions to clarify things.
It's good. It's good. Need those questions. Okay, so I think that's I haven't heard back anything from Jay on the proposal I sent him for cloud infrastructure. Basically, a virtual machine, Windows Server, with Windows Server licenses, etc., in Amazon for Assess Pro. But of course, getting the secondary ISP as a prerequisite for some of these cases. So we have we should have no longer have a concern with deploying things in the cloud because we have redundancy. So should be good. Let me take notes. All right. Schools, technology.
No update on the schools meetings from my side.
Okay. I know they've been busy preparing for this year. I think it probably is now a good time to reach out to them. I'm hearing through the grapevine. I'm hearing through the grapevine that things have improved at the schools, partially because they had massive subnets before, and they've reduced the sizes of those subnets, so smaller broadcast domains. But either way, it would be good to discuss that in the future meeting. I don't have anything else for today's meeting. Did I miss anything from the agenda?
Nothing from the agenda. I would just say that Jay and I did meet with the managed services company. So do you remember, Matt, he had sent over the contract and, we took a look at it, sent some feedback back, and then went with them and went through all the open questions. It would be interesting to just talk about, I guess, the future staffing model, particularly given some of Sam's comments, so that, if we are advocating for any future additional roles, we understand how the managed services piece fits in with the employee piece, and we can clearly articulate the support for you know, how many roles do we need to actually be in our town IT department, and then how does the managed services supplement that? But I think we need a combination of both, quite honestly. I mean, you know, we're never going to have enough people that we can provide 7x24 and full monitoring and break fix, and that's definitely something that we can get more efficiently through a managed services group.
Yeah, sounds great. Yeah, I will definitely, I'll add, I completely forgot about adding to this meeting for the agenda. So I'll add that to our next meeting agenda, and that makes complete sense. So the more we can, think of that and put that in place, get ready so that hopefully by budget, for budgets for next year, moving forward, we know, and hopefully we're all aligned as to what the goals are of both sides, the employees as well as managed services.
Do you know the timing on that, Matt? Like when
Typically for the budgets?
Yeah.
I think the budgets are start to be solicited in September, and Sam, I know, is here. He probably knows better than I. And then through the fall, the town accountant starts to meet with people, and in general, they like to have a solidified budget by the end of November-ish, so that in December, the select board can start meeting and discussing it and reviewing the requests with the respective committees. And then it goes, very beginning of next year, it starts to become the article for the town meeting.
Got it. Okay, thank you.
All right. So yeah, basically the sooner the better. I know, and this is one of the reasons why I haven't want to have a discussion with the DPW, because if we're going to make any change, even next fall to our main permanent project, we need to get it in the this fall's budget. Yeah. And that, in fact, going back to Sam's comment and what your comment of making these bite-sized pieces, bite-sized changes. Many of those bites are around budget, and so we should identify every key goal that we want. Every metric we have that we want to improve. The important ones, I guess. I'm sure we can defer to future years. Other ones, for the key metrics. How should that, or how do we envision those metrics influencing the budget requests for this next year? And we work with the respective departments to make sure they get those requests in. Because we can meet monthly and talk about lots of things and dream, etc. But if it doesn't get into budgets, nothing's happening.
Great.
Okay. All right, let's pull up, if we could, our calendars to take a look at September date for September meeting. What do people's calendars look like in say the week of the 18th of September, Tuesday the 19th?
That would be fine.
Go ahead, and you have a comment, Sam?
Yeah, thanks. I'd like to comment on a couple of things. One, the strategic technology plan. Angela, great job on that. I think very helpful. And I sort of look at that as a bookend kind of thing. I think that the journey, the customer journey, the employee journey, I find very helpful, because I think very few people out there understand sort of what technology could do for people. I mean, there are certainly people who are technology literate, but the vast bulk of the voters at town meeting pretty much don't have much of a clue about what could be there. So I think it's very helpful to start communicating and socializing the concepts of what this could mean longer term for people. And I don't think we need, 20 pages worth of detail, but expanding that some to reinforce here are the kind of things that technology would allow us to do as an individual, as an employee, et cetera, et cetera. So beefing that up some, I think, could be very helpful. At the other end, so that's sort of generalizing the process. The other end, I would urge for more specificity in that from a personal standpoint, if I go in and try to get 20 things done from a budget or otherwise standpoint, I'd probably be lucky to get any of them done. If I focus on 2 or 3 things, there's some reasonable chance that can happen. And so I think that, again, it's very helpful from a practical standpoint to focus on a small set of things, hopefully things that are sort of strategically high leverage things. So, and don't bog people down in details. The big one for me is the staffing thing that you just touched on recently here. And I think that as I look at ways that have been successful in terms of getting additional bodies, it's to socialize the concept and not expect to get it done immediately. But the police department a few years ago needed 3 new officers, 1 per shift. And the then chief actually started that about 2 years before he was ready to request it. He said, here's where I'm going with it. Here's why it's important. And by the time it actually hit the budget, 1 officer at a time for each of 3 years, it was a sort of, oh, ho, hum, we know all about this, not a problem kind of thing. And others have done the same kind of thing. So I think there's value in reinforcing the conversation that I know you've had to say that we're woefully understaffed in terms of technology relative to other towns. And here is what we really need to have longer term, and it's probably more than 1 additional body. And so beginning to socialize that concept, say, here's what a really appropriately staffed department looks like. We know we're not going to get it in FY25, which is what we're starting budget process for now, but at least to begin to communicate. And so then you can hammer the point that for FY25, here's the position we need. And it's going to be a challenge because there's already been a lot of pressure given the regional public safety dispatch conversations we've had to add a couple of bodies there. And there's always a lot of pressure to declare no new bodies at each start of the budget cycle, which we have held pretty tightly to, but not without exception. So it's going to be a challenge. But again, I think getting that message in there and then reinforcing the value of being able to do that, I think is very important. And so it's sort of, working with the budget process and how it works through town meeting, et cetera. Taking lessons from the past there, I think, can tell us about those kind of things. And again, the more precise, focused list of things that you want to push you have, I think it's a lot easier to get people behind it because most people, again, don't really understand much of the details. But again, I think of things like the cloud stuff, for example, and I think there have been some conversations recently here with folks about pressure on getting to the cloud with all of this stuff. So I think there's growing pressure for that, and that would be one that has some momentum and I think is important as well. The web thing, again, is to me an important thing from a public perception standpoint. To make sure that people see that we're making life easier for people to use the web, et cetera, et cetera. Those are, again, a couple of ways to, I think, latch on to some important things. And the web piece, particularly building public support for investment in technology. And Angela, your point about the transfer station sticker process was a good one in that that thing crashed and burned basically when it was first started. And so it's not perfect, but it sure is a lot better than it might have been had there not been several people jump in and do heroic work to pull it back together there. So, but again, that's something that is visible to a lot of people. And so if you get those kind of things working better, I think that's a real plus at town meeting that people can stand up and say, oh yeah, I did this and it actually worked pretty well and I found it very useful, et cetera. So anyway, combination of broadening the focus and narrowing the focus on each end of the process, I think is very helpful. But the plan, I find to be a great document to be able to talk to people from. And so again, I would urge you to keep updating that. The survey is a great idea too, to get data in terms of experience in various parts of this thing. Excellent. So, and I think there's actually a new member who is applied and is interested in the position. So I think I think there was a question to you, Matt, about that. So I think that's what Melanie Utska is looking for some feedback on. And if that is something that works for you guys, I think the select board is ready to appoint somebody there. So
yeah, there's been a few people who expressed interest, and I've been delayed in reviewing them. But so yeah, we'll get back to you.
We're ready as soon as you guys come up with recommendations. So. So again, thank you. Good progress, and delighted to hear about the backup ISP that's been floating around there for a long time. So that's certainly good news.
Yeah.
Thanks. That's my 2 cents worth.
Thank you, Sam.
Thanks, Sam. Yeah, great thoughts, great advice, and great. Thank you for your continued support, as always. All right. So looking back at the calendar, how does Tuesday the 19th look for you, Angela and Joe?
Can make it work.
Okay. All right. So I'll tentatively schedule for Tuesday the 19th. And that'll be good. I think that is everything. I move that we adjourn.
Yeah.
And that was Angela, you seconded. Okay. Note here. Okay, let's go around the room. Joe?
Aye.
Likewise, I and Angela. All right, thank you so much. Have a great rest of your evening, and we'll chat in September.
Thanks, guys. Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a good night.
Good night.